next panel discussion, which is on digital CX transformation, placing customer experience at the forefront. Joining us for this discussion, we have Mr. Alok Shivpurkar, Head HR, HDFC Asset Management Company Limited, who will be moderating this discussion. May I welcome Mr. Alok Shivpurkar, Head HR, HDFC Asset Management Company Limited, to please join us on stage for leading the discussions. A round of applause, please. Mr. Bala Chendal, P, EVP and Business Head, Digital Acquisition, Ambit Finvest. Sir, if you can start from Mr. Bala Chendal, P, EVP, Business Head, Digital Acquisition, Ambit Finvest. Sir, are you here? Okay, sure. Mr. Mayank Sharma, Head of Global Partnerships, Prodigy Finance. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much. Round of applause, please, to welcome Mr. Mayank Sharma. Mr. Raj, Chief Digital Officer and President, India Talisma. If you could please join us on stage. And Dr. Rashi Gupta, Co-Founder and Chief Data Scientist, Rezo.ai. Ma'am, if you could please join us on stage. Round of applause, please, for Dr. Rashi Gupta, Co-Founder and Chief Data Scientist, Rezo.ai. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here. We'll just wait for, I think, Mr. Mayank Sharma, who's on his way. Or, sir, you may start. I think he'll join us. Please welcome Mr. Bala Chendal, P, EVP and Business Head, Digital Acquisition, Ambit Finvest. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. So, customer experience, everybody wants to give best of the experience, and best of the experience doesn't meet the expectations, which is a moving goalpost for customer. So let me present a share if audience are okay to start with, to set the context. पा सकेंगे न उम्र भर जिसको, पा सकेंगे न उम्र भर जिसको, जुस्तजू आज भी उसी की है. So customer wants the best experience, whether physical, digital or digital. So I have very powerful panel today to give their views. So what I am going to do is I am going to invite their views as a part of overview, and then I will ask some questions, and then we will go to audience, and audience may directly ask questions, get more clarification, more insight. Very powerful panel we have this afternoon. So Bala. Sorry, ladies first. Okay, Rashi, will start with Rashi. Rashi, just in the context of topic and the session's theme, I would invite you to give your point of view and overview. What has been your experience? What some of the work you all doing in order to improve the customer experience journey? Over to you.
Sure. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So I represent Rezo. Rezo is a AI-powered contact center. And the mantra for Rezo is customer is the boss. And we live with this motto. We try and work with the enterprise to be able to get them to talk to the customer at the time when the customer is wanting to talk to them, right? The idea is nudge a customer when he's comfortable. The idea is for the enterprise, they are looking at conversion, they're looking at feedback, they're looking at outcomes which they have been wanting to derive, right? That's the reason they're running the businesses. And customer is basically their endpoint. Now, with the power of machine learning AI, we try and connect the dots, and we are able to reach out to them not from a 9 to 5 sort of a range, but reach out to them when they are comfortable, when everybody is willing, when they are working with the brand, everybody is willing to give a feedback, but nudge them at a time when they would be happy to give out that feedback. Like, you do that with the power of AI machine learning, and that is what our prime focus is, and that's what we are, majorly working with currently in our current avatar, doing roughly around 15 lakh calls in a day, and reaching out, working with very large brands, from reaching out to their customers, from marketing to, to service, to sales, to doing the collection feedback. A lot of speech analytics to be able to collect the voice of the customer and then give this back to the end enterprise to be able to understand as to what's their ask of the customer. How are they wanting to be connected to the brand? What are they thinking about various aspects? What processes are broken? So basically, hearing the heart of the customer, bringing it back to the enterprise so that the enterprise can pick up on dots from there, build up the enterprise, which is customer-centric.
Thank you. Raj Mrityunjayappa. Is that the right pronunciation, Raj? You got it. Yes, thank you. So Raj brings a lot of global and local experience and does really handle very large business. So Raj, over to you. What are you doing to improve the customer experience and the transformation both? Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Alok. And so here is an interesting thing. I don't know how many of you observed this. Alok, I just mentioned it to him earlier. He's head of HR, and he's actually having the conversation of customer, transformation. It's actually quite special that way, because most of us, what we ignore is what type of culture transformation the organization have to go through, process transformation organizations have to go through in order to drive an experience. Customer experience is not just about what we think has to be automation. It is about change of culture, change of process, change of policies, and HR plays a very central role in that kind of a transformation. So thanks, Alok, for heading this. This is actually very different from most panels I've sat in. Second part, which is also important as we think about the customer experience transformation, while we actually do the boardroom conversations, it all comes up with fantastic ideas on what we can do for customers, and most of it is digitalization, automation, and all of that. And then we actually put together a financial deck of getting approval. And what you put in the financial deck is operational efficiency, right? So this is a completely opposite of customer experience. And the moment we take the deck and we know that exactly what the boards will approve for this deck, and then you measure everything on that KPI. Am I meeting this KPI for operational efficiency? So you defeated your own purpose of what you started a transformation and where you ended up with the transformation. So when we talk about top-down approach of doing customer experience transformation, and this is what we do with Talisma, we are a CRM provider at the world, globally for businesses. What we advocate is these two things. Before you actually get onto the journey, make sure that you have a team that understands what cultural transformation the organization have to go through. That is period number one. If you don't have that alignment top-down and have the understanding, you're going to be in trouble. Number two is make sure that your reason why you're doing it is not operational efficiency. It is you have to do this to humanize the whole process, not the other way around. So I think these are the two very important aspects as we think about it at a global basis, what we actually advocate. And as probably, I'll close this by saying 70%, even today, 70% of all customer experience transformations fail because we got these two things wrong. And those who have got that right actually is going to do a far better job. So that's my initial take.
Thank you, Raj. So friends, my third panelist is Mayank. Mayank, why don't you give a little bit of background or context of your business and then share your overview.
Sure, thank you so much. So I work with Prodigy Finance. We are in the business of providing education loans for students who are looking to go to study abroad from 100 different countries across the globe. India obviously is one of them. So at the outset, the problem we are trying to solve is pretty unique, because if you talk about giving loans for higher education, these are large ticket size loans. Right? You're talking about 30 lakhs rupees worth of loans. And you're doing it for a student who is actually stepping out of your country, going to a foreign country, and you literally have no clue of whether or not the student will come back to you, and how will you actually collect the loan or get the loan repaid while the student is studying and then maybe taking also a job in that different country. So like thinking of this construct, and also the fact that we are able to originate loans across 100 different nationalities, customer experience becomes very central to what we do. In order to even run the business at a very basic level and also to scale it further, we had to put the customer at the core of how we have set up our operations and designed our processes. So we are basically from day one of our existence, we have been fully digital. We have never had a single paper that, like a hard copy, printed out or handed over by a student to us for a KYC purpose. We've always been fully digital, and that is how we have been able to ramp up operations without having like teams, explicit teams across 100 different nationalities that we operate in. So yeah, I think really thinking from a customer lens, that's what we do, and I think that's what has helped us grow and build the business.
So Bala is our next panelist. Bala, over to you. Give us overview, and if you can share, what are some of the trends you observe are taking shape or shaping our customer experience going forward?
I'm Bala. I represent Ambit Finvest. Ambit Finvest is a lending company regulated by RBI, and our focus is MSME segment. We are spread across 12 states with a little over 75 branches. Our target segment is basically the customers who don't get finance from the large banks. So it's basically underserved or underbanked. Over the last few years, my personal view is a couple of technology concepts have really shaped up the UX experience in India. When I say UI, UX, it's not restricted only to the end customers. It's our internal customers who are basically employees. I strongly feel unless and until the employees of an organization adapt to the digital capabilities, it is very unlikely they will take it to the last mile. Coming back to the technologies which shaped up over the last few years, one is cloud computing, the other one is API integration. Ambit Finvest has leveraged these two technologies to build the internal capabilities to serve our internal customers and as well as the end customers. To just name a few, we have a full-fledged mobile app to onboard the customers and disburse the loan digitally, paperless. And we also have a Salesforce as our CRM to catering into the FOS tracking and other productivity measurements. So future, there's a lot of use cases being mentioned by large entities on AI, artificial intelligence and ML. But however, I feel for a small growing lending institutes, we are maybe AML is 4 or 5 years away in developing a relevant use case.
Great. So friends, as we know, any transformation will not be successful unless it is equally driven from top. And any leader would ask, what would I get when I do this transformation? Even when we say customer is king. And when we say transformation, it requires a context. Now, context could be different. It could be economic context, it could be competition, it could be regulation, it could be employees, it could be customer, or it could be even whatever your vision or mission is in order to, and sometime to be brutally cut the cost, right? So one such thing where a lot of technology is finding peace is the artificial intelligence. So Rashi, can I request you to give us a overview how AI is helping to improve the customer experiences?
See, broadly AI, machine learning, these are technologies which becomes really powerful when you're generating data, right? I think prior COVID, people, were generating data, but then when everything came to a standstill, there was a big realization that, if you do not take up digitalization to the next level now, you may be hit again and then you don't know how to operate. So this data was sitting somewhere on the cloud, I think for large enterprises, and this started to come to the forefront, right? When we are working with a lot of organizations, the beauty is that some of them are very ahead of the graph. And they are saying that, it's the customer, right? If you look through a journey, right? There is this marketing, which is the lead generation, then goes the sales, then is the customer support, then is the feedback, and then is this whole trend, right? And these dots can be very easily connected. Now, data is generating at every single point. All of this needs to be connected, and that calls for more and more data getting generated, right? Simple regression model may do justice, right? May not, because the data is becoming humongous. You need to identify patterns, you need to identify intents on this unstructured data, right? Which is majorly 80% of the conversations. Here, when you talk about customer voice, this is all unstructured. Broadly, 80% of the data is unstructured data. So it's at that point of time, on that data, machine learning AI becomes very, very powerful, right? I mean, you can name it and you can try, once you have a big hypothesis or a question that you have in mind, you can use this technology to be able to break that ice, bring a lot of insights which can ignite the engine for an enterprise to go forward, right? I mean, very, very powerful insights. So that is what, we are working currently. We are igniting the enterprises with these kind of insights all powered by AI. And, they are leveraging it big time.
Great. So I'm going to ask one question which is out of syllabus, which the organizers have not given me. But as a customer, they say that whenever you visit, they kind of profile you and throw the choices which you should make. So how does it compromise my choice of freedom, freedom of choice? Or how does it stop me or prohibit me from making the right choice? Because most likely choices, even you go and watch YouTube, you will get those which your last visited or choices will come on that. So how does it offer, does it play a restrictive game? So any comments from, any panelist?
Maybe I'll
Yes,
start.
sure.
My personal view is yes, any organization should build capabilities, digital capabilities to address the customer needs. However, the choice should be left to the customers. In case if the customer thinks or feels that yes, I would like to interact with someone in person, face to face, and we should have that capability. And I strongly feel without human touch, the technology, maybe it may turn out to be a bad experience to the customer, unless and until you are, for example, in education loan lending, where he mentioned that there is 100% digital is possible. But however, for a larger section of the industry, for the larger section of the population, we should have the right mix of both digital capabilities as well as human capital touch. And we call that as phygital in our business.
So yeah, I can also come in. I think I feel that AI and ML, obviously, we are also using at a company in terms of defining predictive models, obviously for credit risk and a couple of other applications. But then I think what happened pretty recently, which makes me think and feel that it cannot be perfect in any way, right? Like every year there are a lot of different variables which are outside of your control, which you cannot simply predict, which then impact your business, right? Just for a very recent example, we work with a lot of US-based universities, and turns out that in the last month of like August, September, there were massive strikes that were happening or protests that were happening within the university administration personnel, right? So they were debating about like wage hikes and all of those issues, and because of that, our loan certification process with the universities got delayed massively, right? And then because of that, the student experience got impacted, and then there was a lot of sort of deferrals that we saw from the students, thinking that maybe they would rather not go in this season, rather defer it to the next year. So even though we have fairly sophisticated predictive models, but this is a new variable which came into the picture this year itself. Next year, maybe there is something new that comes up, right? So I think there is this always like mixture of human intelligence that could be provided by our team members who are sitting in the US, who are working closely with the university in the university relations team, who could then feed us this information, which we probably incorporate, and then it's a mesh of using that machine-driven intelligence and layering over the human intelligence on top of that, which gives us a better predictive model, which is more closer to reality.
Yeah, so we'll move to the next question. So Raj, I am addressing this to you. How significant is for organization today to make digital workflows human-centric, and human could be maybe internal as well as your customer also. And then there was another question about how do you see that you enhance the customer experience?
Yeah, both are kind of related questions, right? And if you look at the broader picture of, we kind of try to paint a single brush across customer. I think when you sit at the boardroom, when you sit at the management level, when you sit at various levels, the interpretation of who this customer is and size of the customer and what they bring to the table, everything changes. And that changes the way you make your decisions. Right? And you think about some customers who may be paying millions of dollars to you, and then you have a customer who's paying $3,000 to you. Now, would you think both are your customers? Technically, yes. Would you treat both of them exactly the same way? Well, technically, yes. But is that practical? Probably not. So I think when we actually start to humanize this, that is where the human aspects comes in. The ability for somebody to have that level of sophisticated thinking to make the right judgment of saying, You cannot do what you do for a $10 million customer to a $3,000 customer, although both customers are important. I do want to make sure that both of my customers are there. So humanizing this is the hardest part, because you can put all the systems, all the sophistication, all the data analytics and everything that comes out, but when you're dealing with the customer, you need to know where those boundaries are, where you don't want to cross the boundaries, because that could change the trajectory of where the organization can be. If you spend more time trying to deal with $3,000 customers, you will effectively have lost track of your bigger paying customers. And that again, you could say, oh, the culture should allow both of these. Of course it should allow, but there also has to be an angle of profitability associated with it. So I think that is the alignment, the humanization of this whole customer experience. What value do we associate with this experience, and how do we ensure that various customers are treated segmented? We are training a culture within the organization. We got to make sure that human aspect is, you are at the end of the day dealing with the people. So that's my take on this.
Okay, so I'm just asking an open question which I'm sure must be playing in the minds of our audience also. While we take care of we'll put the customer at the center of our customer experience journey, digital transformation, but today, it comes with a lot of risks, security, vulnerability, data breaches. So any thoughts on this to really ensure that not only the digital experience, but this data security or privacy and other things are also taken care? I mean, a panel can comment whatever their experiences are and share their insights with the audience.
I'm sitting with a bunch of mostly fintech folks, I think. So this is becoming a very important part in that business, right? I mean, you have enough regulatory pressures as is in terms of ensuring the privacy, data security, and all of these aspects. But I think if you think from the whole aspect of data, that has completely changed. I mean, I could talk about security. I mean, this was a security conference. I can talk about security for next 2 hours or 20 hours. Because the nature of how you store the data, to what you do with the data, to how you manage the data, in terms of all the compliance standards that you need to achieve, has changed globally. This is nothing to do with India alone. Changed globally over the last 3 to 4 years. And this is triggered by various events that has happened at a global level. But whatever those triggers are, we can, political, non-political, more, you can say countries are becoming more patriotic, if you want to call it in a positive way. So they want all the data within their country. So there are a lot of changes that has happened along the way, which is leading to this data privacy, data security, data safety, data, all of those aspects. But primarily within the organization, right? Again, I go back to people. Right? At the end of the day, you could have all the privacy in the world, but you could have one person in the organization who could effectively take it, put on an Excel sheet and sell it to somebody. You could. Theoretically, can very easily be able to do that. And no amount of data security is going to solve that problem. So one of the things that we have to do is basically make people understand the risk of doing something like this. I think that is the problem that most organizations face, is we all talk about data is important, make sure it's secure, make sure it's this. But the education is not happening the other way around. What happens if it breaches? What happens if the data is leaked? What happens if SEBI comes after us? Right? Will this organization shut down? I think honest conversations like that about what happens if this event triggers is not a conversation we want to have openly. We'd rather talk about fear versus tell them the reality. I think that is the big shift in the way I think about what we as an organization, we are doing. And I'm also wear a cap of Chief Digital Officer at a global level, where we have about 6,000 employees and we deal with data about 8,000 customers and very sensitive data. We just talked about student data. We actually have a lot of student data, which is sacrosanct, right? I mean, you have the social security number to everything that is there in it, which is very important. So that's what we teach what we educate our employees is what happens if this happens, if this trigger happens. What happens to our organization?
Anybody else? Otherwise,
Yeah, bang on. I think we should, as Raj said, that rather than just worrying about, it's practically, we are also working with a lot of banking institute, right? So we know how PI information, how critical it is, right? We're not even allowed, because we work with that conversational data, right? So who's saying what and what has been the revert. So that's what we are building hypothesis from that. And the PI information, we are actually, told not to even look into that. So there is a lot of encryption that happens. But I think what Raj said is absolutely correct. Rather than just worrying as to, building these gateways so that none of this steps out. But what if it steps out, right? How do we empower our people? How do we empower institutions at both the sides to be able to handle that in a more careful way? Because this is happening left, right, center, irrespective of whatever we do, it is happening, right? So how do we take care of that? So educating people is going to be more critical rather than just doing like a proactive that, how do you not make it happen?
Yeah, and maybe lastly to add, I think from a corporate side and regulatory side, I think very well covered. And there are a lot of changes, as the panel has mentioned, that are going on, which is all good. But I think also important, especially in countries like India, the customer also needs to understand the importance of privacy and their own data, right? I mean, think of it this way, that when you're downloading a new mobile app, you don't even look at what are the kind of permissions that they are asking you. You just like go through and give permissions for everything, right? Including your SMSs and so many other things. So I think we as customers also need to be much more aware of like what is the consent we are giving to the third party and why are we giving it? Is it actually required or not? Right? I think that is sacrosanct and that needs to change, and there needs to be a lot of sort of push also from the corporate side, also from the government, also from the regulators to educate the customers, as is happening in the like financial literacy space, which is great, but also from data and privacy. I think that's the missing part right now.
Great, thank you very much. I will now turn to audience. Audience, we have another 8.5 minutes to go. I intend to finish and wind up 3 minutes before the scheduled time, so we will land before time. So questions, anybody want to ask anything to this illustrious panel, please feel free to ask. Mike, please. Any question? They done good job. My panel has done good job. So they have, it's not easy to control audience. So friends, finally, customer is the king, and customer has to be at the center of whatever we do, our suppliers, our stakeholder, our employees, business, context, regulator, everything. But the money spinning revolves around the customer. We can say that customer experience is good or bad because of technology, because of people, because of customers' unreasonable expectation. But wherever we put the blame, but finally customer is the king. And to wind up this panel discussion, I would only say, उम्र भर गालिब भूल यही करता रहा, उम्र भर गालिब भूल यही करता रहा, धूल चेहरे पे थी और आईना साफ करता रहा. You have been great audience. Thank you very much, my panel, for being part of this time.
Wonderful, wonderful beginning and ending to a very interesting session. Thank you so much. May I request Mr. Ronak Doshi to please join us to present small tokens of appreciation to our wonderful panelists here. Can we have the Memento and magazines on stage? Mr. Doshi, if you could present the Memento and magazine to Mr. Alok Shiopurkar, Head HR, HDFC Asset Management Company.